You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Mattie C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes! Episode 236. It is episode 236, and that means it is our 2025 Minnesota Vikings draft special. Yes, back again. We love it. And without further ado, if you didn't know already, but I'm sure you do, I'm your host, DJ Mattie C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Mattie C, etc., 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 and all the way in Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Voldy, Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
You know, of course, we got the draft special going on here tonight, and I was going to wear something else other than, you know, of course, the announcement of Calclutterbuck retiring from his playing time in the NHL. Of course, WrestleMania did happen over the weekend, and of course, we do live in a world now where your world champion is now a 17-time world champion in John Cena. I was actually going to wear my classic John Cena Chain Gang Soldier jersey because word life, and I'm always going to hold it down for my guy, John Cena, as well. But bigger things at play here. I got the Vikings hat, wild jersey. I'm all over the place tonight. There's just so much that's gone on here in the last few hours. I cannot even keep it straight. I can't even focus on the fact we got the draft special. So many things coming up here later with the show that will certainly need to be addressed.
Yes, a lot of things need to be addressed, and one of them, obviously, our draft special. Yes. Voldy, what we have on deck for tonight for the zoners, and we encourage the zoners to chime in when they can, we got some players to consider. We got 3 players that we're kind of eyeing, that the Vikings might, thinking that they'll take them. And Voldy and I picked some players. We also looked at some day 2, day 3 players to consider for the Vikings. They don't have a lot of picks, but they can accumulate picks by trades and everything like that. But who knows? Right. We'll see. And then we're going to predict the first 5 picks of the NFL draft, just to kind of see where everything's at with the other teams. Just kind of, go from there and see if we're right. If we're wrong, then whatever. And Voldy, we are back again with our bold predictions.
Yes, sir.
We had a lot of bold predictions last time. I think we were all wrong, to be honest. Or no,
Yeah.
Mikey was right. We
Surprisingly, Mikey was right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
I really wish we had
right.
Mikey on the show tonight. So I'm
Yes,
sure he'd have another great-
unfortunately, Mikey is not available tonight, but he is available next week. So when the Vikings
All right. Perfect.
have their first round pick or second or however they're going to do this, I know they're going to stay within the first round, maybe early second a little bit. We'll see, but Mikey will come back on the show to talk about that pick specifically. So that's what we got for the draft special tonight. And then we just dive into some tater tot hot take, even though we're kind of doing it. It's a mix, with our special tater tot
We're all
hot
over the
take,
place
whole deal.
tonight.
The Wolves and Lakers, game 2 reactions. We'll give you some analysis on that. Unfortunately, the Wolves lose to the Lakers 95-84. Yes, booze all around. I know. But you know what? It's series is tied. We're back in Minnesota here on Friday.
sir.
Let's go. But a team that that is in the playoffs and was victorious was the Minnesota Wild. Yes.
Somehow.
Hey, somehow, some way, they won 5-2 over those those Golden Knights. So we're feeling good about that. We'll talk about that too. Kaprizov, Voldy were playing out of their minds, but we got a lot to say with that one too. So, and then we got a shortened ARA since we got a lot of draft talk coming your way. Man, I don't know why, but apparently Acuna, or is it Acuna?
Yep. Acuna.
Calling out the Braves. Oh boy, not good. Not good.
Oh, Ronald.
NCAA to direct payment to athletes. We will discuss that as well. And to round things off for ARA, HVL Reese reunite in Chi-Town. A lot to be said about that as well.
Yikes.
And then shield shoutouts. As always, we got awesome shield shoutouts tonight. So we got that going. So Voldy,
Let's hit it.
before we do that, you mentioned WrestleMania and everything. Can we give claps out to Tiffy time? Tiffy time, baby.
That's
Gets
our girl.
it done against Charlotte Flair. Listen, I meant what I said last week when I said has been, and it proved. You know what I mean? Us Minnesotans, we don't play anymore. We're not. You're not just gonna walk on all over us and everything like that. Tiffy time was like, yep, we're done here. Got it done against Charlotte Flair. Congratulations to Tiffany Stratton. The champ is still here, so that's where we got with that. But Voldy, it's time for our 2025 Minnesota Vikings draft special. And, of course, it's time for some tater tot hot take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
Love that.
Yeah, my computer wants to do an update right now. We can't do that right now. No, don't do that. Don't do that. We don't want that. So, I don't know why. It's going crazy on me. But, here it is. It is our draft special. And just a reminder, zoners, that you are more than welcome to chime in. You could give your 3 players that you're eyeing as well here for the NFL draft coming up here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Time. It's gonna be a while. So Vikings fans, just remember, it's gonna be a while. The Vikings probably won't be trading up unless they really want somebody. But the Vikings, I think, are gonna, stay put or trade back, and I think that's the 2 options that they have, and I think it's best player available at this point as well. So, Voldy, before we get into our 3 players, I want to know, and I want to know from the zoners as well. You don't see them making any surprise pick. It's going to be take the best player available. Wouldn't you agree?
I certainly do see it being best player available. They do have a couple areas to address. And I know that, of course, with our defensive secondary, we are a little bit on the veteran side of things, if you will, because I would definitely be looking at quite possibly a replacement for the likes of course, Harrison Smith now going into, year 14, year 13 or something like that. But still, a lot of years underneath him. You got to be looking at consideration for him, what the future holds for him, and obviously what you're going to be looking at. But I definitely am not afraid to say that they'll definitely be looking at what's best available at that time.
You are indeed correct. It is 14. It will be his 14th season
14th
here coming up. So that is perfect.
It's a lot of years.
A lot of years, and especially for a safety like him. I mean, that's incredible. I think that with this situation, there's a lot of needs, and it's not like they have to necessarily force to get somebody or have, don't just add more to the arsenal is how I look at it. I think with any position defensively, besides maybe middle linebacker and whatnot, I mean, I think it's all up in the air. I mean, they could go corner. I mean, it'd be nice to add, a rookie corner just to develop in the future. There are guys that are coming back off injury as well. With Mekhi Blackman, I think showed some promise before in his rookie season, and then obviously his season was cut short this year. I think there's some growth to be had. Byron Murphy's back as well, so I think they could probably lean towards that, but I also know too that it depends on how things look in OTAs and rookie mini camps and this and that. I mean, there's a whole slew of things where the Vikings can, make a move even after the draft here. And I think you're going to be seeing a backup QB either during this draft if they trade with somebody, or after the draft they go get their backup QB. I think it is kind of best available, but fit it to your needs. And that right now is left guard. And it's no disrespect to Blake Brando. I just think that is our weak point right now on paper. And obviously we've got to see how things go during the season and whatnot. But you look at the left guard spot, you look at the D tackle spot, and it's not to say like, oh, well, Mattie, they just got Hargrave and they just got Jonathan Allen. And it's like, yeah, I know, but they're a little long in the tooth. Not saying that they won't make an impact, but you add another stud back there, oh, watch out. I mean, that's I mean, the thing is, you develop them, they learn. The rookie learns from this guy and goes from there. And like I said with corner, I mean, it just makes sense, and you can never have enough corners. But Voldy, I do agree with you on the safety deal because, again, Theo Jackson and Harrison Smith, Harry's not going to be here for long. And I think that is a big need as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. We kind of have an idea of where we think they're going to go and who the Vikings are kind of eyeing up. But I think it is best player available, but make sure you address the specific position. So, I will start with my three. So my three are pretty, I mean, they're names that everyone's talking about right now, okay? And I think the more research and the more things that I looked into with these three players, just kind of thought, okay, this fits how the Vikings do things and how Flo wants to do things defensively, Kevin O'Connell, offensively. So, but most of these are either O-line and D-line and as well as safety. So bear with me. So the first one, and I think this is kind of where the majority of experts and fans are leaning towards, and that is Derrick Harmon out of Oregon. He played for Michigan State for 3 years. He was, he redshirted his first year. He played all 12 games, had 5 starts, 2 sacks, 30 tackles, 3 TFLs, and then he had another solid season in 10 starts, 40 tackles, 3 TFLs, 1.5 sacks, pass breakup, and a forced fumble. So that's pretty good. And then he decided, no, I'm going to go to Oregon. He goes to Oregon, and third team all Big Ten Conference, which is weird to say because it is Oregon, and it's the Big 20 now, so got that. Tied for the team lead in forced fumbles, played all 14 games and 13 starts, 5 sacks, 10 TFLs, 45 tackles total. So, there's a couple strengths with him. I won't list all of them, but here are a couple that I think fit the mold here. Exceptional blend of size, length, and strength make him tough to move. That kind of reminds me of a little thing called the Williams Wall. Yes. If you're hard to move and you plug up those running lanes, watch out. He is versatile to play up and down the line in odd or even fronts, which I think is very, key because we've seen a lot of Harrison Phillips over at the nose tackle and, kind of filling up the middle there. And I think adding him into the fold, kind of alternating them, will help them in that sense. And the last one is his punch is quick, powerful, and efficient to stall the block. So if he gets his hands on you and he pushes you back and he's raring to go, you're in bad shape. But a couple weaknesses: he carries bad weight on top heavy frame with tightness in his hips and gets caught behind lateral blocks when he shouldn't. So there's a couple concerns there, but I think what they want to do on the defensive line, what they've already added, you're learning from Jonathan Allen, you're learning from Javon Hargrave, and then obviously I think off the edge a little bit, Harrison Phillips as well, and off the edge, Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, and everything like that. So I think the Vikings can really coach him up, help him improve in those areas, and I think he's worthy of being that 24th pick. There's been a lot of teams that have considered picking him earlier, so he might not even land to the Vikings. But I think he might be there at 24. It seems likely, but it depends on what they want to do. So I think Derrick Harmon's one guy, and the next guy is a Golden Domer, Notre Dame. Xavier Watts. Now, this player is very interesting, and I looked at some of his highlights, and what things stood out to me is that he has rare instincts and creates on-ball production. Who does that remind you of? Dirty Harry, right? Just saying. And he's very good. He's a very good tackler as well. He played all his years at Notre Dame. He was first team Associated Press All-American. Joined the Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter as the only consensus All-Americans in both 2023 and 2024. He's tied for second in the FBS in 6 interceptions, Sugar Bowl defensive MVP, and he set the school record with a 100-yard interception return for a touchdown against USC. So this young man, I think, would be perfect for the Vikings and learning under Dirty Harry, as well as Theo Jackson back there, and just kind of feeding off that. And especially with him being being from Notre Dame, I think this benefits everybody involved. Now, his draft projection right now, Voldy and Zoners, is 2 through 3. So I think, and this is what I think, Voldy. I think that if they want him really bad, I think they're going to trade back to accumulate some picks, maybe even get an extra second. I doubt it. But if they're able to get him back with Harrison Smith, watch out. That's all I got to say. Watch out. And make sure you check out some of his highlight tapes. His NFL comparison is Malik Hooker, and he's a very good safety as well. But I think him being coached up and everything like that with Harrison Smith in the DB room, I think could do wonders. So look at XavierWatts, and that I think they wouldn't take at 24. Hence why I think this would be a trade back scenario. So my final one, and zoners, for those tuning in, throw in what you think as well, and the guys that I haven't mentioned yet, and Voldy might even mention them coming up here. So my last one is on the offensive line. The offensive line, like we said, Voldy, I think they addressed pretty fully on both sides. Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, and I think with the one weakness, and I said this at the beginning, was Blake Brandel. Now, I think they can get a guy that, can kind of fight for that position. And if he beats out Brandel, I would assume the Vikings probably trade him, or he'd be a backup. I don't know. But one guy that stood out to me was, Donovan Jackson, Ohio State guard. I started looking into this young man, and I think he fits a lot of what the Vikings want to do at the left guard spot. Now, the one thing that I think, sets him apart is that he's a big dude. Like, this guy's got long arms. You want an offensive lineman that has long arms and can get those hands right on those defensive linemen and, knock them back in the run game and then protect, and again, you don't want to have a weak point in your offensive line. I think he would fit that mold, depending on how things would go. He uses his core power, his hand resets to thwart the bull rush, which helps. I mean, and the Vikings have been destroyed by the bull rush, if you ask Garrett Bradbury. But this is something to where he has a wide frame. He was moved to left tackle this past year, Voldy, and he did a phenomenal job. And I think when he filled in, they won the national title. So you can move him around if you decide, well, if somebody gets hurt or anything like that. I think he could fill in perfectly for the Minnesota Vikings. His NFL comparison is Wyatt Teller, which is very similar. Was a very good lineman here as well. I believe he was with the Browns, if I'm not mistaken, and he did a good job. So the only downside is that quicker defenders can beat him with quick wins heads up. So if they decide to put like a D-end in the middle or something, they do like a twist scheme or something like that, that could hurt us. But it's coachable. So that relies on our coaching staff. So those are my three players that I think the Vikings are looking at intently: derrickharmon, XavierWatts, and Donovan Jackson. So those are my three players that I think they should consider and maybe draft. We'll see. So, Voldy, what players do you got?
When originally researching this, I went very heavy on the defensive side. I felt like that was going to be an area of concern, even with the great amount of offseason signings the last couple of years the Vikings have made. A little bit of extra insurance on the back end is certainly something that I saw. But looking at a lot of the mock drafts, of course, the experts saying where things are going, I kind of made a little bit of a switch up, but still, right off the bat, we will start with the defensive back at the safety position. That's going to be nickemmanwori out of the University of South Carolina. Now, this guy is a pretty decent elite talent when it comes to not only just sitting back in coverage and waiting for the receivers to come to you. This guy can definitely play sideline to sideline and has the measurables to not only stop the run, comparisons and strengths that put him at being able to match up with top tight ends. And if we've seen anything out of the NFC North and the NFL as a whole, there's plenty of top tight ends in the National Football League. Of course, a lot of the measurables you can throw out there as well. When it came to, of course, when he was over at the combine, had the highest vertical jump, had the biggest broad jump as well. So he can definitely go out there and run a few things. Ran a 4.38 40 that is pretty solid for a defensive back. Definitely has the caliber and a large enough wingspan out of what we've seen with some of those measurables to at least make contested opportunities against top wide receivers in the National Football League. Is definitely not afraid to go after the football, has a nose for tackling at that same time. So that's definitely one player that I definitely see being in that right position at that spot. Has been a little bit of a borderline late first, early second round selection, but a lot of it is matching up with the Vikings to at least make an opportunity out of him. Very similar style as well from all the things that we talked about with Harrison Smith from that safety position, and could definitely be a really nice complementary piece to at least take him under his wing and at least groom that player into being a possible Pro Bowl caliber player. Now, when we talk about also on the defensive back side, I went another direction as well when we talk about a guy that certainly has made an impact in the game as at that same time. Now, talking about a guy that was certainly something to be reckoned with, and one being Jahdaebrown out of the University of Texas. Originally played at that cornerback position, but has seen a fair amount of time at the safety spot as well. So having that versatility, very helpful for him, and at least being a good enough piece to at least maybe he plays in the nickel. Maybe they slot him in at that safety position to at least, give him a little bit of different looks. Big things along with that have been quite nice for him, especially coming out of nickel back play for him as the season went along at the University of Texas for him. So Jahdaebrown definitely has that big nickel size at 5'11", able to redirect routes. Has definitely been another nice complementary piece for him, and at least break up a lot of plays right along that line of scrimmage to at least be a factor enough, and has at least the ability to kind of has a nose for the football, stripping it away, going after it at that same time. So that's definitely a nice piece you want to see out of a corner once a guy does get out in space and he meets them at the point of tackle, to at least cause some potentiality in the turnover area as well. Now, for my third guy that I do have, Jahdaebrown being a really nice opportunity for him. Now, one guy that I saw, I wanted to go all defense, but again, more conversations taking place and more talks about this guy maybe sneaking his way into the first round and quite possibly making a significant enough opportunity for him in the first round. And fortunately enough, I had the opportunity to watch this gentleman play in college. And this is greyzabel, the interior offensive lineman from North Dakota State University. I went to a couple of games this year and saw quite a good amount of play out of him. An effective player nonetheless, comes from a very athletic family. His dad, Mark, played football at Northern State in South Dakota. His mom was a track and basketball star also at Northern State. He's got one brother that is a freshman at joined NDSU as a freshman in 2024, and also had another brother, that being Peyton Zabel, or at least a relative of that from his days in South Dakota, where Peyton Zabel was a multi-sport athlete, got drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers, was a multi-time state champion as well. So the Zabel family is definitely not unknown when it comes to their athletic prowess. But speaking of prowess, and for Gray at that same time, not just limited to his play in the interior on the offensive line. He played a good amount of games at left tackle for NDSU this past season, of course, starting all 16 games at left tackle. Now, that's a premier position, especially going the fact that NDSU did reclaim a national championship, but also has seen significant time at left guard, played some time at right tackle at the same time from his years at NDSU. So that versatility has been quite nice. And again, another borderline guy, has been late first round, early second, but definitely has the opportunity to work for the 5 offensive line positions. Of course, the Vikings have addressed a lot of concerns with the offensive line through free agency, but having a guy come in who has that caliber to play any position, plug and play, and see an opportunity for him to maybe work a little bit more and learn from some of these guys like Freeze. And of course, with, a significant other guys that have come in through free agency and on the offensive line, that's only going to play dividends for him to at least see how things have adjusted from the collegiate level to the pro level, and how he can be able to at least make himself a more dynamic piece when it comes to, being on the offensive line at the NFL, and at least give himself a lot more flexibility to say maybe one game you're at right guard and next game you're at left tackle, or you can switch positions in game as well. Having that opportunity for him, and at least as a dynamic enough player that he has been through his college days up until this point, to at least be garnering interest, late first, second round action for him, could be quite possible that he could sneak his way and at least not travel very far from his high school to college and even to his pro days as well. Yeah. Vikings should definitely take a serious look at him at that pick at number 24.
Well, for one, I kind of had him as my 4th because I was, from what I hear, Voldy, he was fantastic at the Senior Bowl. He was going up against those the D1 juggernauts and everything. He handled them. He was great. So I think that I agree. I think that's another.
NDSU has just sneakily become a lineman factory nowadays. It used to be, obviously the big dogs out of Wisconsin were just like, oh, you need an offensive lineman? Boom, we've got 17 of them for you to draft from. But now NDSU, they've picked up a lot more steam when it comes to a lot of their offensive linemen getting some serious looks, producing at the NFL level. So greyzabel could definitely be another one of those guys who steps right in and makes a name for himself at the pro level.
I think he'd fit in perfectly with the left guard spot, and he could fill in if you need to, left tackle, anywhere on the line per se. But there's one person that loves O-line, and that is the Kerf Doctor. Yes.
Kerf Doctor.
Prescribing some O-line, and this is what he has to say I did a Q&A on the live chat. Kerf Doctor says, I say whomever Chris Collinsworth laughs the loudest is about who we draft. So
I like it.
Well, you see, I don't really like that greyzabel,
And that's what we get here when you see Patrick Mahomes out in the open field.
Throwing bombs.
Fantastic. Nobody else can make that play than Patrick Mahomes.
Shut up, Chris. Oh, God. So, but for real, never can have too many O-line. O-line. It's true. And them addressing that, and Voldy, I think the guy that you're referring to, Ryan Kelly, our center.
Yes, Kelly, thank you.
As well. To add,
I was gonna say Brian O'Neill is O'Neill's still on the team. I don't know. There's so many linemen have coming on.
Darrisaw's coming back.
Darrisaw's coming back from the knee. I don't know.
Yeah,
so many guys.
We're good.
We're fine.
Yeah, it's all good. All good in the hood. So that's kind of what we're thinking. Now, Voldy, let's do this scenario. So we looked at some day 2, day 3 players as well, and I think. This is kind of where, okay, if you take this position at this time, what do you do in the later ones, like the 3rd round and 4th and whatever, they don't have a 4th. It's the 2 5ths or whatever the hell it is.
Right.
I have 2 guys that I think that could benefit the Vikings and could possibly start, if they go through training camp. I'll go a little quicker with this one, but a guy that I think they could consider. Let's just say the Vikings take nickemmanwori. I mean, nickemmanwori, right?
Yep. Emmanwori, yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that if they decide to take him, and which would make sense, I do like him as well, but I still think that left guard position, and I know I keep harping on it, I know we talk about O-line all the time, but I just think that Brandel needs to be pushed a little bit. Just to be like, you need some competition. We need to see you, play well. I think that guy would be Dylan Fairchild from the University of Georgia. I think he's kind of like the Georgia Bulldogs. He's a Bulldog. I mean, he literally is a guy that's one of the top left guards in the college football ranks, and he played all his years at Georgia. In 2023, played all 14 games, 10 starts at left guard, and he was the Joe Moore Award finalist, nation's top O-line. Yes. So, second team Associated Press All-American, second team All-SEC, started all 14 games at left guard. This is a guy that I think here's a guy, his draft projection is round 4. Now, I think if you're the Vikings, if you make a trade or something like that, and you have a pick in the 4th round, or you wait till that 3rd round pick and it might be a reach. I don't think it's that much of a reach. If this guy was one of the nation's top O-line, I think you got to take the chance. He gets into blocks with quick inside hands, good lateral acceleration on move blocks, which I think is very critical, especially with the zone run with Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason. And I think the thing that sets people off a little bit with him is that he has below average core strength and contact balance. I think that can be worked out, that can be coached up, and struggles to generate movement as a drive blocker, which, you kind of do need, but I also know that, I think that these things are correctable. So I think Dylan Fairchild from Georgia is a guy to consider in the late rounds. And then my other late round guy, which I think a lot of fans want this guy, and I like him too. And that's the thing is, I really like what he brings to the table too. Cam Skattebo from Arizona State, running back. Now I know you guys are probably saying, "Oh, we got Aaron Jones, we got Jordan Mason. What else do we need?" Well, this young man, and he runs over guys. I mean, he's only 5'9", 219, but this guy can run over guys, and he has some very quick feet as well. This past year, he was ranked second in the FBS with a school record 1,711 rushing yards, 293 carries, 5 yards per carry, which is insane to me. All-purpose yards, you add on 45 receptions, 605 receiving yards, and 3 tuds. Whew, that's good. That is very good. And the fact that you can get this guy out in the open on screens and things like that, where I think you add another element to kind of being kind of more of the receiving back. But we know Jonesy has a tendency to get hurt and disappear, right? we found that out last year, and especially his time with Green Bay. Now, I think if something were to happen and you have him in your back pocket, I think this is a guy that you definitely need to consider. He's a very muscular guy, excellent footwork in tight quarters, which I think you need if you're going to run the ball as much as the Vikings did last year. He makes sharp alterations to the run lane when needed due to penetration, in the O-line there. So the burst into his top speed fairly quickly. That is key. If you can do that and be explosive, watch out. You're going in for a long run. So some weakness, if he gets hit pretty hard and things like that, there could be, there could be repercussions for that, and that could, injuries, things like that. Lack of acceleration out of his cuts, which I think he can fix as well. So projected around 4. I think if the Vikings want to say, we want to have so many weapons with our offensive line in the later rounds, and you're able to get him late 3rd round, and so if somehow he drops to the 5th, I say you go in and you take that young man. I think he can be, he can impact this team, I think, if they were to draft him. So those are a couple of my guys. Guess who has tuned in, though, Voldy? We have our guy Mikey. He must be he must have a second or two here. So I'm glad that we have him. He
good enough to tune in, but not good enough to show up.
I know. Well,
all right.
I get
Mikey.
it. Just kidding.
You'll have to answer for it next week.
Yeah. This draft will be an interesting one. I'm in favor of, if xavierwatts is off the board, trade back and get some picks in day 2 and day 3. Lots of interesting prospects for O-line on those days. So, there's a lot of options as the curve.
You're an interesting prospect.
Listen to this. Listen to this. I know where Mikey is. He's on the course. Cut me some slack. Hey, I appreciate the dedication. That's awesome. If you're on the course, you're tuning in, you're listening to what we got. Mikey's going to be ready for next week. I can't wait to talk with him about that. So, we will see Mikey here next week. But, Voldy, who you got?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely kind of followed along that same route a little bit when it came to obviously skill and also needed areas of support. One guy I really was looking at here with a kind of a late round selection, maybe somebody you can kind of catch up towards the back end of the draft, some of those later round selections. Kind of a sneaky player that was out of Kansas State was DJ Giddens, running back for that, Kansas State team that definitely made a little bit of noise towards the back end of the season for them. He was an all Big 12 second team conference, led the team in rushing, obviously tied for the team lead in rushing touchdowns, finished his career at that same time with 3 receiving touchdowns, 21 catches, just over 12.5 yards per catch in his final year. Definitely a guy that is a little bit more patient when it comes to run, so allows his line to create space and develop, and seeing some of those areas where he can cut and develop into run lanes. That's been one thing that has worked for him. And we've seen anything out of running backs. If you can't carry the ball a lot in your time, you're definitely not going to get a lot of respect when it comes to that. So he's definitely one that has gotten a lot of work in his time. So he definitely has a lot of the reps taken care of, because we've seen anything the last couple of years with the Vikings running game. Running backs get, tossed back and forth, left, right, and all over the place. Especially with Aaron Jones, he'll play a quarter and a half, and we won't see him towards the tail end of the third quarter at some point. So you definitely need a lot of depth at that position. That is certainly one that we'll definitely look at. He's a later round pick. A lot of teams have, or a lot of experts have put him there. So I wouldn't be surprised he gets picked up maybe, the low 4th, high 5th. Some have even thrown out 6th round for him at that same spot. And if we've also seen anything when it comes to depth, you definitely cannot throw out anything when it comes to defensive line. Another guy that I threw out there was Ty Robinson out of Nebraska. Now, we've seen anything with guys out of Nebraska, and especially at the defensive tackle position, could definitely have a lot more help in that certain area also, as we bring in our latest draft expert here into the program. That's all around.
There he is.
Joining the program. Definitely is a what you call prototypical Cornhusker, good size, broad frame, and thick limbs, because thick thighs, they save lives. If anybody has ever not heard of that, now you have. Plays with a high motor, robust physicality, so you definitely see a lot of active play out of him. Can definitely be quite a force to be reckoned with, especially towards the tail end of his career at Nebraska. Very active with the hands, and definitely can swat a punch and definitely get access out to the edge, shut down a lot of those plays at the line. Definitely has the ability to finish with a lot of success for him, especially with his physical play that he does throw out there for the Huskers, and could definitely be a nice 5th-round selection, and definitely a later round pick for the Vikings at that, because definitely could never be without any depth when it comes to defensive line play, and could definitely use a lot, as much help as they can get in that area. So that was another guy I was looking at there when it comes to, Ty Robinson out of Nebraska there, to be a nice late round pick when it comes to defensive line play too.
I think that's another good point. It just kind of, like I said, we said it depends on who they draft in the first or early second, or however they want to go with it. So
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think those two guys would be great. I was just, as you're talking about Giddens, I was looking at some of his, a couple of his highlights and stuff, and I kind of like the way he moves. I'm kind of digging it too. So any one of those guys, I'm happy with. So we'll roll with that. So, Voldy, let's switch gears real quick, and let's just kind of give our first predictions on how the draft will go in the first 5 rounds. as Tate's wanting the mic, he's got something to say.
Let me talk to you.
Let me talk to you. Yeah. So
Yeah.
We start with the Tennessee Titans, and let's be honest. We all kind of know what's coming here. I think this kind of makes sense. It seems like they're all in and wanting to add Cam Ward to the Tennessee Titans. I think that is what they will do. So I think this is no breaking news, but I think Cam Ward goes number 1. They have a lot of needs. Let's be honest. They have a ton of needs there. All right, number 2, the Cleveland Browns. There's a lot of needs, and they didn't have a great year last year, and to be honest, Myles Garrett coming back, I think, helps them a little bit, but not enough to, add a quarterback at this spot. And a lot of people were thinking, oh, well, Shador here makes sense and stuff. Do you want to take that risk, especially when he's been dropping a little bit too? So, for the Cleveland Browns, I think they want someone exciting, someone that can be a force in the offense, but could be defensively. And I think number 2 will go to, and I'm sorry to do this, Voldy, but Travis Hunter, I think will go to number 2 to the Browns.
Why do you hate me?
I don't. It's the Browns. It's them. You just know they're going to do something.
The Browns can screw up everything.
I know. I'm sorry. But it would be interesting if they added Abdul Carter. Oh man, that would be something to see. Nice. So I got Travis Hunter going to the Browns there. But you never know what could happen, Voldy. It could drop to 4 to the Patriots. You never know. The Giants. Oh man, where do I start? There's been talk with Shador and everything like that, and with him, I think like every team's been like kind of linked somehow, some way, which doesn't make sense.
Right.
But at number 3 for the New York Giants, the one strength they have is that defensive line. It is stacked. You have Brian Burns. You have Kayvon Thibodeau. The Dexter Lawrence. I think you add another guy, and I think you add the guy from Penn State, being Abdul Carter. I think this makes sense for the Giants just because, I mean, you're going to have one of the most disruptive lines in the game. I mean, ever, like, these guys are going to come after you, and, you know, they'll win some games for you. I think Abdul Carter's the perfect, in the perfect spot with them. But if they want to go offense and whatnot, I could see them being like, you know what, we were just giving you a smoke screen. We're going to take Shedeur or something like that. Something stupid, you know. But now let's move on to the Patriots real quick. I'm looking at the Patriots, and, you know, Voldy, I know that Travis Hunter is your guy and whatnot, and I think there is still a chance. There's still a chance that this could happen, that they get him in the draft. But there's a lot of, you got to protect Drake May, right? You got to protect who your franchise. And I think they're going to take a look at a guy that they're going to really help out that offensive line. And I think with the Patriots being able to say they are going to take, I just lost it here. I don't know why. Is
it Membu?
Yes, Armand Membu. Yes, that is
Missouri
who
guy.
I was looking for. Missouri guy adding to that line. They have a possibility with Will Campbell, I think, is another possibility there as well. But I think that's. But I think they're going to go with Armand. So I'll take him there. Now, moving on to number 5, Voldy, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I could see them looking for D-line and things like that, but I'm going to make an interesting proposition. I think the Las Vegas Raiders are going to move up one spot with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they're going to swap. And at number 5, the Raiders will take Ashton Jeanty at number 5. They're good. Pete Carroll kind of gave it away a little bit, but I think they're like, we need to get our guy. We don't want anyone coming up and taking our guy. We're going to go get him. And I think they're going to take Jeanty at number 5. They're going to trade with Jacksonville, move up a spot, take him so no one else takes him there. So Ashton Jeanty at number 5. So a little bit of a turnaround there. So, that's what I got. Voldy, what do you have 1 through 5?
You know, we'll just go ahead and nip this right in the bud with the number 1 pick. It's going to be Cam Ward. Just based off of what we've seen out of the Will Levis show in Tennessee, they need as much help as they can, at least because you've got a head coach. You've got a new GM in there as well. Second-year head coach, new GM coming in. It's one of the situations, the previous 10 years coach and GM, they picked this quarterback, and now it's our turn to pick a guy that we need to make a stamp with, and it's going to be Cam Ward at the number 1 spot there for them. Now, when it comes to number 2, now this one is a tough one. This one's going to be Cleveland at that number 2 spot, and I just see it going a few different ways. Do you go after a quarterback, even though you signed Kenny Pickett, you brought back Joe Flacco, you still have, I don't know if he's ever going to play again, but of course you still have that contract with Deshaun Watson on the books. Do you go after a quarterback? And I say no. You threw out a whole lot of money towards the likes of oh gosh, the name slips me right now. What the line?
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett. Thank you. Jesus, I was going to say Colton or something like that. I don't know. I got a baby in my hands right now. I'm a couple of beers in at this point. I'm just trying to make it through the rest of the week. But at that 2 spot, I mean, you could definitely throw in a few different guys, but what a complimentary piece could it be to throw in a guy like Abdul Carter in Cleveland? Now, hear me out on this. You've got, of course, the number 1 guy. You've got the likes of, you've got, God darn it, you literally just said it. And
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett. I had Garrett in my mind. I didn't know what to say. You got Myles Garrett. Why not throw in another guy on the edge to at least build up something defensively to at least cover you on the back end as well? Now, I see this being quite effective because Cleveland had a couple of chances in recent years to be a complimentary piece for Myles Garrett on that defensive line. They tried with a couple of different guys. They had Zadarius Smith. Didn't really work out last year. He ends up getting taken away. But why not throw in a guy that has nothing but a high-end motor like an Abdul Carter who can rush off the edge and also take away a lot of those blocks that would go from Myles Garrett towards his side and vice versa as well. That would pay huge, especially for a team probably not going to be scoring a lot of points offensively. Now, of course, you could also make the argument, say, hey, why not get Travis Hunter? Travis Hunter on the offensive side, who's going to be the guy throwing him the football? Are you going to be getting him in a lot of jet sweeps at this point and getting blown up at the line of scrimmage? Probably not. So I think addressing the defense right off the bat for Cleveland is going to be helpful for them because they need to address a serious side of the football right now. And I think defense is definitely one when you've got Myles Garrett locked up. Try to keep him as happy as long as possible. But if you can at least assure him to say, hey, we're going to build around you defensively and get another great piece like an Abdul Carter or even a Jalen Walker. I'll throw him as a dark horse number 2 pick. But I feel Abdul Carter coming in with a little bit of some foot issues from the combine. And now at this point, I would put him at the number 2. Now, 3, when it comes to the New York Football Giants, they've had nothing but an interesting offseason, to say the least. They've had guys kind of come and go. They're on their last legs. Head coach Brian Daboll. I don't know what Joe Shane is really thinking at this point. This pick needs to be a home run. And why not have nothing more of a home run than with the number 3 pick, you go and get Shedeur Sanders. A lot of things have really come into the mix. Of course, towards the end of his college tenure, he had the, red and blue cleats in the locker just ahead of the bowl game. Conversations, of course, he has been nothing but prepared for the spotlight. And why not throw him into the mix there with it being in the Big Apple where there's nothing but scrutiny, to say the least? Oh, yeah. Let's also throw in the fact that they have Russell Wilson. They have Jameis Winston. They've got and you put in Shedeur Sanders, that quarterback room is going to be nothing but hype 24/7, 365 from the first OTA all the way to wherever their season ends. And week 17, week 18, does it end with a parade down, Broadway? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think with that number 3 pick, you need to address something and at least get a high impact player to develop for the future. They've tried in the past to at least get quarterbacks to develop. Hasn't worked out. Brian Daboll is a good coach. It just so happens that he's in New York. Any little slip-ups are magnified tenfold. Get a guy like Shedeur Sanders who can take a lot of the hype, who can definitely take a lot of the scrutiny because he's been born and raised into it from womb now all the way here at the soon-to-be pro level. Why not throw him in the mix there, getting drafted by the Giants at number 3. The number 4 pick, and this is completely 1,000.5% unbiased, Travis Hunter to New England. I'm just putting it out there. You get a dynamic enough weapon. You've already got Christian Gonzalez, Agent Zero there on the back end at the corner spot. Maybe you throw a little bit more focus with, of course, the cornerback side with a package of plays towards the offensive side for Travis Hunter. They've got a decent enough wide receiver room that they've started to build up a little bit more because we've seen anything over the years. New England and wide receivers don't exactly get along. Now you've got a head coach like Mike Vrabel who wants to put an emphasis in playmakers because he's had a lot of guys that have produced at a high level when it comes to at least the receiving core. A.J. Brown bloomed into a superstar from his time at Tennessee, now a Super Bowl champion in Philadelphia. I say you draft Travis Hunter primarily as a cornerback with a handful of plays. You get that cornerback side stronger than with the receiving side as well. You get him comfortable with getting, of course, getting an explosive play out of Drake May, because you've already got Stephon Diggs, you've got Pop Douglas. I mean, you've got a good mix of guys coming back from last season and getting a little bit more comfortable with how things will play out. Josh McDaniels in as offensive coordinator. That's also going to be a huge upside for them. I say that you draft the likes of Travis Hunter to New England. Again, 100% unbiased when it comes to that position. Now you look at the number 5 when it comes to Jacksonville. I mean, the first 4 picks have been pretty much set in stone at that point, and now it's just like, okay, Jacksonville's in the mix. You got a new head coach. You've got a new GM coming in. Where are we looking at to make a splash? And one of the things that they could use some help in is going to be that defensive tackle position. One guy that I've been highly looked at, Mason Graham out of Michigan. Now, he has definitely turned a lot of heads, of course, from his time at Michigan, of course, in the mix for a national championship and the production that he's put in his time at the collegiate level, but has definitely stepped out when it comes to when it has been after the season, through the combine, through, of course, all the one-on-ones and the pro day as well. Mason Graham's turned a lot of heads as of late, which has definitely boasted him at that high spot. So I definitely throw Mason Graham a good fit there in for Jacksonville to make a good splash with the number 5 pick.
Wow, very nice with the 5. I like it. Well, I mean, I wouldn't shock me with Hunter, man. It really wouldn't. I think it's there's a possibility there. So
I will make a bet. I will make this promise to everybody right here. If New England does get Travis Hunter, I will buy every single Travis Hunter jersey style. I'll get the road. I'll get the white. I'll get the white. I'll get the blue. I think they still got the reds. They might be coming out with something different this year, but I'll get every Travis Hunter jersey, and I will probably end up divorced by the end of the season. But who knows? Still got to get a new case. I still got to get a new Case Keenum jersey. He's going to Chicago,
That's true.
So throw that into the mix there.
You heard it here first. That's all I got to say. You heard it.
Put it out there.
All right, bold predictions. It is time, and then we got to get into Wolves and Wild as well. So I'm going to make mine. This one's not earth-shattering, I don't think. I'm not doing what I did last year when the Vikings trading up for Drake May. That whole deal, I think, was pretty much a smokescreen, in my opinion. But these bold predictions, the Minnesota Vikings, I think, have made it known that they want more picks. And I think they're not desperate for it, but if they have 5 guys in mind. And I think those 5 guys, if they are not there at 24, they are going to trade back. And I think that's what's going to be the case. I know Kenneth Grant has been talked about. I was going to have him on my list of guys to consider, but it seems like he's going to go earlier than expected, because I thought Kenneth Grant to the Vikings, easy. D tackle, by the way. I think that would fit. If he drops, they're taking him in a heartbeat. The thing that I think is going to happen is they're just not going to have it, and I think teams are going to be jumping around a lot. It's going to be unpredictable. I think the Vikings are going to say, you know what, we need to accumulate some picks, so let's trade. I think the Minnesota Vikings trade, and they trade with the Buffalo Bills, because nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, as we say here on the show. They move up to 24. The Vikings swap picks with the Bills. I'm not going to give you any specific, added picks and whatnot, because I have no idea. But they're going to swap. Vikings, I think, are going to get like two picks out of it. And at 30, I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to go the route of O-line. They are going to select at number 30 Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. Yes, the guard that I talked about earlier, I think would be a perfect fit at the left guard spot. I think this makes sense. And to, have that position battle between him and Brandel in training camp, see how it pans out. But I'm going to go with the Ohio State guy, Donovan Jackson, at 30. So, Voldy, what is your bold prediction?
I look at how things are really playing out. Now I'm throwing this out here with the Vikings and the bold prediction. Now, things are really working their way. I would definitely not be surprised. I kind of went along the same route with you when it came to something's not really playing out. Say Zabel gets taken early. Nickemmanwori is out there as well. He's taken out early. I would not be surprised if the Vikings do trade back. Maybe get a second, maybe get another third, maybe a second and a fourth in the mix. And a team that is desperate enough to get back into the first round and become back into the island of relevancy. Acknowledge your trouble, Chief. I say that is going to be the New York Football Giants. Ooh. The Giants are on their last legs. That front office, that coaching staff, for all the things that they've had to deal with the last few years, of course, losing Saquon, the bust that was Daniel Jones, and just not getting what they have wanted out of their football franchise. You know that the Mara family is definitely looking things a little bit more closer with this draft. I would not be surprised if the Giants decide to move up and take a spot from the Vikings there, moving up, because they're at 34 right now. That's the second pick in the second round. They throw that pick, maybe a third draft pick as well, third round pick, is looking into the third round for them. They currently sit at the Giants, that is, just taking a quick peek here. Right now, compensationally, they're at 99. That's their other pick. And in fact, they've got 65 as well. So they've got a couple of third round picks. You take that second, maybe a third into the mix there, swapping back up into the 24 spot. Maybe they try and go get out a Tet McMillan or something like that. A guy that's definitely made a lot of noise for them out of the draft there, especially a guy that doesn't watch tape, doesn't do film, just goes out there and plays ball. Why not get another piece for potentially a guy that you get with the third overall pick into the mix? So watch out for the Vikings and the Giants to do business as my bold prediction. But another bold prediction I'll throw out there, even though I had him slotted at number 3, Shedeur Sanders does not get drafted out of the top 10. That's another bold prediction I'll throw out there.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
Look, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I want Shedeur Sanders top 5. I want to see what he does at the next level. I will buy Shedeur Sanders jersey if it ends up being a halfway decent enough team, because we all buy into the hype. We all we're all drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm already fully invested. New England gets Travis Hunter, and I'm buying all the jerseys on top of it. Why not throw one more into the mix there with Shedeur? But again, would not surprise me if he drops, just based off of all the trash talking that has taken place off the field and the the low comparisons that he's gotten post season for him.
Well, there you have it. Those are our bold predictions for the NFL draft. It starts tomorrow. And a reminder, zoners, you have a chance to win a 2025 draft special giveaway prize. Yes, that is a free MinneZona Adidas hat. All you got to do is pick the position. You just got to pick the position and whatnot, and you have a chance to win, man. You have a chance to win free Adidas hat provided by Voldy. So, looking forward to seeing what happens there for the draft. Make sure you get those or submit your entries, and we'll take a look at them. And if there is a tiebreaker, we do have something in mind to decipher who gets it, who does not. So, get it done. That's all I got to say. That's all I got.
Yes, sir.
All right. With Tater Tot Hot Take, great 2025 draft special. Can't wait to discuss next week with that. 2 playoff teams in Minnesota. We have the Minnesota Timberwolves took on the Lakers last night. Unfortunately, they lose to those damn Lakers. Yes, I know. I know. And again, you look at what they did in the first game. They kicked their ass. I mean, they absolutely went in and just said, you know what? I'm sick of all the people talking about how they're going to, sweep us and what Lakers in 5. No, that's not what's going to happen. The Wolves go in, kick their ass. But game 2 last night, they lose 94-85. So, with that being said, Luka had a, very good game. 29 points. Or wait, no, wasn't it 30? I swear to God it was 31 or something like that. One second. Yep, 31 points. I don't know why that's a 29. Anyway, so with that being said, Luka did well. LeBron played a lot better, 31 points. Austin Reeves had 16. And Rui Hachimura had 11 points as well. So some of their bench did well, but again, the Wolves just were cold. And Naz Reid didn't play particularly well. Got in foul trouble. DiVincenzo got in foul trouble. We talked about how the refs, you can't let the refs influence the game here. They're going to get the calls and everything like that. I think Ant got frustrated a couple times and whatnot. Safe to say, I just think this was a game where it's like you were hot one night and you were cold last night. The Wolves were 20% from 3, 5 of 25. So, yeah, it was a rough one. Voldy, going into this game on Friday, what are your thoughts? I mean, do you think the Wolves will bounce back here in Game 3? And if you have any more thoughts with Game 2, what do you got?
No, I think they will be able to bounce back coming into the game on Friday, because you saw with the way they came out shooting in Game 1 that the Lakers were definitely going to put a lot of emphasis into getting off to a fast start, which they did. I mean, first quarter was 34-15, and it was just a foot race after that, with the Timberwolves not getting a lot of calls, struggling from the field overall. I mean, there was just not a lot of consistency in their play. I think one thing that they did well in that first contest, of course, was just attacking the perimeter and obviously getting after LeBron, getting after, of course, Luka on top of it. But, Luka did put up, 16 points in the first quarter in that game on, in Game 1. But after that, they were just able to pull away and just get you pieced out little by little. Unfortunately, when you see some of the numbers out on the floor, Mike Conley, no points in 21 minutes on the floor. Not exactly very good on that. Seeing a lot of problems with turnovers overall, and just looking at the bench, single-digit effort out of the bench, not exactly great. And while on the other side, the Lakers have 4 players in double digits, and you get 31 out of Luka, you get 21 out of LeBron, 16 out of Austin Reeves. The only guy that didn't get double digits was Jackson Hayes, and he only played 9 minutes, and he got 2 points off of that. So I think the Timberwolves definitely need to get a little bit more production out of Jaden McDaniels. Of course, Rudy at that same time, when you've got Ant and Julius Randle putting up 25 plus points, and that's it. Not going to bode well for them, but I think coming back home is going to be a nice reprieve for them, and also, really get back in the mix. I mean, it is tied 1-1. You steal one from the road at the Crypto Arena. That was a huge positive. Now coming back home, I think a little bit of home cooking is going to be much needed for them.
And the crowd's going to be wild. They're going to feed off that energy. Ant's going to want some payback. Ant had 25. Julius Randle had a really good game. I give him props. He had 27 points as well. So, look, McDaniels only had 8, Gobert 6, but, just the matchups with them just don't fit. He actually played well defensively, had some minor hiccups against faster defenders, obviously. DiVincenzo off the bench was bad. Got in foul trouble, unfortunately. So, yeah, it was a rough go for the Wolves. But hopefully this was just kind of the one game where it's like, okay, we sucked. We got to come back, get it done. I think they will next week here. Or, not next week, on Friday here. So, go Wolves. We will keep you up to date on anything happening with that. Let's move over to a team that won last night. A little positivity. The Minnesota Wild win 5-2 over those Vegas Golden Knights. Yes, Voldy is still Voldy, you're still kind of shocked over it, aren't you?
I am nothing but shocked. I mean, the fact that I watched the start of this game. The 9 o'clock starts have been absolutely brutal. And apparently, I think the next game or something, no, it was a 10 o'clock start last night. And I was like, okay, I'll watch the first few minutes. The game didn't really get going till about 10 after 10. And with about 8 minutes left, or 8 minutes into the game, the Wild were being outshot like 5-1 at one point. Literally, that was the shot total. 5 shots for Vegas, 1 for Minnesota. I'm like, all right, this is going to be an ugly one. Turn off the TV, go brush my teeth. 5 minutes later, I see the Wild are up 1-0. I'm like, okay, well, at least we got the first goal. Then I wake up at 4, unbeknownst to me, because somebody didn't want to sleep the whole night. And I get up, look at my phone. The fact the Wild were outshot 33-17 and yet won 5-2. That's not a good performance out of Vegas's goaltender, but they put up 5 goals on just 17 shots. They were outplayed in everything. The only thing that they were good at was blocking shots. I think they blocked like maybe 25 shots or something like that, compared to like 17 or so compared to Vegas. So they were blocking shots or getting in the way and just being opportune. That pass that Kirill had to Matt Voldy on the first goal of the game was an absolute dime of a pass. And if you want to throw out the analogy, Kirill was out there dipping dots to Matt Voldy, just connecting on a beautiful saucer pass. But again, completely confused. Get up 3-0 after the first. That's fantastic. And what I said at the start of this series was going to be the goaltending. The goaltending is going to have to carry the load for Minnesota, and Gustafsson came to play there in game 2. Faced a lot of shots early. I mean, 30 saves on 32 shots. Fantastic. Again, Adin Hill, 12 saves on 16 shots overall. Not good for him, especially compared to a team in Vegas that has nothing but depth to their side, while the Wild have that top line of, they've got Kaprizov, Boldy, and Eriksson Ek. But after that, I mean, it's a crapshoot when it comes to scoring, and going to have to make up for a lot in a lot of different areas. But the Wild found a way to get a win, a good bounce-back win after a rough start in Game 1 against the Vegas Golden Knights. So that's huge to at least salvage one on the road before coming back here later this week.
Yeah, so what did you say on that Kirill pass, by the way?
Well, Kirill was out there.
Dip them dots.
That's right.
Kirill dipped them dots. That's what I'm saying.
He did. Yes, he did.
I had to throw that. I was looking for the soundbite, and I couldn't find it, and then I found it. So I was like, you got to dip them dots, and Kirill did that. He had 2 goals last night, too. Yeah. That's what they need. They need that from their top guys. Boldy was fantastic as well. Yep. Had a nice goal and an assist as well. Mm-hmm. Going back into the XL here tomorrow, I think I think the crowd's going to feed off it. I think it's going to be a closely contested game nonetheless, but I think the Wild, I'm telling you, if they take one at home, or if they get 2 wins at home, I mean, are you smelling upset? But I don't want to get that far. I knocked on wood when I said that too, so we're good. But again, I thought, I will say, Voldy, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought they were cooked when I saw Game 1. I was like, these guys look 10 times better than them. Mm-hmm. And it's, this is a big offseason. No matter how this turns out, this is a huge offseason for the Minnesota Wild. Coming here to St. Paul, I think helps them. If they were down 2-0, not looking good. Not looking good at all. So now that they've even, they tied the series up, make sure they have to get at least one. Get at least one at home. Don't make it so that you get swept or at home and then lose to them at their place. I'd rather see them keep it going, keep fighting. You never know what can happen. So I thought Gus Bus was fantastic too. So they definitely need that. I mean, he only let up 2 goals. And, 30 saves? Very good. Very, very good.
Yeah.
So, Go Wild, go Wolves, the whole kit and caboodle.
Here's an interesting thing for you, too.
Hit
So
me.
puck drop for Thursday is 8 o'clock. Now, sometimes they can run a little bit long. Maybe the game in front of them on the TV goes into overtime. What do you think will happen first? The Vikings will make their first-round selection at pick 24, or the first period will be done in the Wild game on Thursday night?
Oh, my God. There is nothing more frustrating to me when the NFL draft is on, Voldy. And when it takes forever for all these teams to take their sweet-ass time, and they know who they're going to take. They know who they're going to take. Just phone it in and get it done. It's like, no, we got to do all this glitz and that. We got to see the interview from before and things like that. No, you don't. Just put the damn pick in, do the little interview, and then have Goodell wait for the next pick. Have, whatever person go up to Goodell. Here's who they're picking, and go from there. This isn't hard. It's only the first round. So that's a whole nother conversation. But my
thing is this. I think that the times in the draft need to be flipped. First round should only be a minute. It's the 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds, you need 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, because at that point you're just like, well, what about this guy that played at Joe Bag of Donuts? I don't know. Is he still on there? No, he got picked 3 rounds ago. Dang it. Like, honestly, are you telling me that the Giants or Jacksonville doesn't have, like, okay, here are the first 5 players on the board. If they get picked this way, we're going with this guy. Or contingent based off of, everything else. Like, you don't have 17 scenarios already lined up. It's like, okay, this player's gone. We're taking him. Oh, he's gone too. We're taking this guy. After that. Like, come on. You're telling me you don't have at least one guy or a handful of guys that have already got your picks lined up for at least the first round? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's they want to fit as much as they can. Oh, we want them to have their moment. They can have their moment. Just next team, be ready when you're up next. So that's
the first round does not need to take 4 hours.
Yes, that is ridiculous. Exactly right. So I will say this. I'll say that the end of the first period will be done before the Vikings pick. Oh, yeah. I think so. The thing is, it takes forever. I'm telling you. It's just like you sit there and you're just like, are you serious? Just pick. Just go. So I'll say the Wild are going to get it done before the Vikings pick. So that's just my thing. Do you think the same thing or no?
Oh, yeah, for sure. The first period's going to be done. It might even be start of the second period by the time the Vikings get their pick. And I will be firmly asleep nonetheless.
Fair enough. All right. We got to do a very quick ARA. We're going to do kind of like almost a rapid fire. Not too rapid fire, but enough to go through. So what we got for you, Acuna calling out the Braves. Oof, we'll talk about that. NCAA to allow direct payment to athletes. Quick thoughts on that. And Haley, is it Van Lilith or something like that?
Van
Lith, thank you. And Angelreese reunite in Chi-Town. So, that being said, let's get it going with some quick absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we start in the world of Major League Baseball, where Ronald Acuna Jr. is calling out some of his teammates for lack of hustle in a most recent contest that took place over the weekend against the Minnesota Twins, where Acuna did call out and was also frustrated when teammate Jarred Kelenic was thrown out at second base after failing to hustle out of the box after a long drive that he put into the outfield, and even criticized the way his manager Brian Snitker handled the situation by quoting as saying, "What was I supposed to do?" when asked if he had anything to say to Kelenic on that matter. And Acuna took to social media and said, if it were me, they would take me out of the game, criticizing the fact that Acuna is quite possibly held to a different standard to his teammates. Of course, Acuna is recovering from ACL surgery and a number of times that he has been injured. So slowly but surely making his way back to being the impact player that he once was in most recent years. And of course, we've seen the times as well where players have got on each other based off of lack of hustle and how things have been dealt with. But is it absurd or approved based off of what we've seen with Ronald Acuna Jr. calling out his teammates? Are the comments, is it absurd or approved Acuna's comments on his teammates and even the criticism on his manager?
Why are you doing it on social media? That's my question. Yep. Why is, you see, this, I'll make this quick. This time, people around this time and are in this generation and things like that. If you want to criticize somebody or if you have a problem with the way things are going, you need to have a conversation, A, with that person or B, with your manager. And the fact that he did that and said these things kind of says, okay, we don't trust you, dude. Like, what the hell are you trying to, accomplish here? And you're playing the Twins, so you got that. It's not that big. No, I'm just kidding. In that whole social media aspect. Don't be on social media during the game and airing it out because guess what? It turns into a story. And the fact that he went out and did that type of thing to call out his teammates, I don't care if he didn't hustle or anything. It's like, hey, bro, I just thought we could have hustled a little bit better there or something like that. Just talk about it. And he goes, oh, I'm going to put it in a tweet. Like, okay, dude. So, yeah, I think it's absurd. I think the way he handled it was awful. And, I think he needs to apologize and, go from there. So, yeah, absurd. Voldy, what do you think?
I think it's absurd as well, the way the Braves have gotten off to start this season and a lot of expectations coming into them this year and just the lack of, overall play too. They've dug themselves into a pretty deep hole in the NL East that is definitely not easy to dig out of. The comments themselves, they boil out of frustration, knowing that the fact that their team can definitely be better and they haven't played like it overall. I think it's absurd just based off of what we've seen out of the Braves. And of course, with Acuna still trying to shoulder the burden of course, coming back from injury and trying to be a team leader, not exactly a lot of confidence when you're pointing things out from your teammates as well as your manager. Definitely absurd in my mind.
Don't tweet your emotions. Just saying. Just trying to help them. Anyway, next one, Voldy.
Well, we head to the world of college athletics, and the NCAA Division I Board of Directors held a meeting on this Monday proposing removing 153 long-standing rules from its handbook, which would allow schools to share financial benefits directly with their student athletes. They did hold this meeting and talked about 9 major proposed legislative changes, including permission for schools to provide direct financial payments to players, including for use of NIL. Now, this would also include some legislation that apparently most recently just saw that is going to be tabled, including sports-specific roster limits and allowing full scholarships to all student athletes on a declared roster. Now, this is also going to be tabled until further discussion. But, of course, we've seen the wild, wild west when it comes to NIL, paying athletes and how much they can make, and players leaving because they're not making enough money. They're backing out of deals that were held by their institutions where they're at. Now we're getting close to the fact where schools are going to directly start paying athletes as part of their program and including use of their NIL. Is it absurd or approved with these said rules that have proposed to be changed? Will these rules change, make NIL much more, I said for lack of a better term, hectic when it comes to paying student athletes at the collegiate level?
Gee, they don't make it easy on themselves, do they? NCAA, again, is scrambling, just kind of putting stuff together, just kind of not knowing where to put it. And just, kind of like, well, why don't we just do direct deposit, all that stuff. It's like, listen, you should have figured this out long ago when you decided to do this. And the fact that they, these players can get their money and everything like that, like, I just feel this could be manipulated in certain ways. Like, some third party gets in and whatnot, and then they start negotiating what they should be getting paid, and there's going to be agents now, so it's like, here we go, all these rules and regulations and stuff like that. I just think this is going to go south. So I say it's absurd because I just don't think they have a plan. They don't know how how are you going to make sure people don't interfere? I mean, what is the cutoff line for some of these players, and like, how much money can you give and you can't give, things like that. So I think it's absurd. I think this is gonna just be jumbled up and no one's gonna know what the hell is going on. That's what I think. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just getting more and more tough to, where's the line drawn at this point? I feel like now that they're just going to possibly start directly paying athletes from said institutions. That's what it should have been, really, all from the start with NIL, and even, everything that went before the passing of NIL, and just what it should have been. Now they're just throwing more gasoline onto the fire of where are the rules, where are the regulations, where do you stop, where do you start? And it's getting more and more out of line, basically, to the point now where does it go from here? I know they're still waiting on seeing the settlement of, basically pay for play and, a revenue sharing, basically. That's where we're getting to at this point. And how is that all going to come into play for future athletes in making school decisions of where they want to attend? And I just don't see how this makes it even better or clears things up. I think it's definitely absurd for sure.
Classic NCAA screwing things up. Who would have thought? All right, last one of all day.
Well, we finished things off here with the WNBA, an interesting selection with the WNBA draft just a week and a half or so ago. haileyvanlith out of TCU, previously out of LSU, and Louisville in hard time, is heading to Chicago after being drafted number 11 in the WNBA draft and reuniting with former LSU Tiger teammate Angelreese. Of course, with the success that they did have in the short amount of time that they did that one season, 2023-24, before getting upended in the Elite Eight by Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, some things been said off the court between the two, and of course through social media and reports throwing that HVL and Angelreese didn't exactly see eye to eye. Too many chefs in each kitchen. Very interesting to see how that plays out at the professional level between the two. Of course, with the success that Angelreese did have in her rookie season with the Chicago Sky. Now that throws in what can haileyvanlith add to the Chicago Sky roster. But is it absurd or prove? Will the two athletes, Angelreese and HVL, be able to coexist now at the WNBA level?
Ooh, man, that's we're adding some drama. One thing that I didn't know until maybe very recently is that Jalen Suggs is haileyvanlith's boyfriend. I did not know that. Wow, I had no idea. So, well, good for them.
Good on him.
Since 2021. Yeah, 2021. I don't know how they linked up or anything like that, but hey, good for them. Voldy, you and I both have an opinion on Angelreese, and I think, there's things that she said that I just think are out of bounds and ridiculous and whatnot. But adding a friendly or a frenemy, well, let's go with that, a frenemy. I think they get along. Maybe they butted heads and things like that. But I think there's a lot to be said about there might be some tension. It seems like Chicago Sky, are making it out to be, it's all cool, it's going to be fine and whatnot. But you never know with Reese, man. You really never know. I think the comparison that you could make, and I'm not, and again, there's probably some differences in this, but is Angel Reese the female version of Draymond Green? Possibly.
Ooh.
Is that? I mean, that's not far off. I feel like. I think there could be some friction there, Voldy. I really do think so. But I also look at it and think, you know what? They're adults now. They can kind of, go from there. It's been a couple of years. So let's I think they'll be able to coexist. I'll give it my stamp of approval just because if they can't, then, well, someone's going to be leaving Chicago at some point. So, I'll say they'll be just fine. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I could definitely see they find a way to coexist, but there's definitely not going to be any lack of drama between Angel Reese and basically anybody she plays with or plays against for that matter. I look back at the situation overall and just her continued argument that why she's not the star of the WNBA when you have Caitlin Clark. And I always go back, look, you already beat her. You beat her for a national championship. Shut up and move on. I mean, I could definitely throw that out there. I definitely see haileyvanlith throw into the mix there with her. They could be a formidable duo at the level. Now, let's just hope Angel Reese can definitely work on her shooting a little bit more instead of just throwing up bricks and trying to get 30 rebounds in a game, trying to Dennis Rodman her way into of her own. Yeah, no points, 57 rebounds in 19 minutes, basically, or something like that. Will they be able to coexist? I think they'll find a way. Winning cures all is the old sentiment there, but I definitely can see a way that they'll find a way to coexist for sure.
Better hope so, but I
hope so.
It's one quote away from Angel Reese being a disaster. So just saying, we're just putting it out there. So, all right, great job with ARA this week, Voldy. That was quick and efficient and very good. And that means it's time for some Shield shout-outs tonight. Voldy's got some Shield shout-outs he wants to get to. And obviously, it's kind of a spoiler, kind of not. But Voldy's wearing a jersey that includes a Shield shout-out. So, without further ado, let's get it going. What's up? Shield shout-outs.
Shield shout-outs.
All right, Shield, who you shouting out tonight?
Well, we start off here wishing the best of luck in retirement to the man whose jersey I'm wearing, former Minnesota Wild and, of course, New York Islanders wrecking ball player, that being calclutterbuck. He announced his retirement after 17 years in the NHL. And a lot of people that I've seen, too, hardly even remember that calclutterbuck was still in the NHL. We just on the island of irrelevancy with him being in New York. But as he does retires as the all-time hits leader in the NHL, just over 4,000 career hits. Of course, he started his career in Minnesota, but of course, the last 11 seasons he's played in New York, out on Long Island with the Islanders, wishing him the best of luck. And maybe we'll see him in the near future in Minnesota one way or another. But also wishing the best of luck in retirement, announced earlier today from the game of basketball, March Madness legend, NBA lottery pick out of BYU, and also most recently as a member of Team USA's 3-on-3 basketball team, Jimmerferdette announced his retirement from the game of basketball. That's right, Jimmer was still playing, and he could still go out there and get buckets as a piece of Team USA in the debut of 3-on-3 basketball in the Paris Olympics most recently, but seeing the better side of things and moving along after his time now. Of course, Jimmerferdette making a name for himself in the NCAA tournament and throwing up a lot of those deep balls from the logo, because it will always be, no matter what, when I see a deep three, it's not Steph, it's not anybody throwing up the deep threes. It's always going to be Jimmer time when you throw up a half-court shot or anywhere near the logo. It will always be Jimmer time when you throw out a deep shot from the 3-point arc. Sadly, we do finish off Shield shoutouts, learning earlier just before the show that NFL Pro Football Hall of Famer Steve Mongo McMichael sadly passed away after a courageous battle with ALS and was inducted into the Hall of Fame this past year. A vaunted member of the 1985 Chicago Bears defense, and also was a professional wrestler, a post-NFL career. Sadly, Mongo McMichael sadly passed away here this week. And if you watch any of the documentaries about the 85 Chicago Bears, you definitely know who Steve McMichael was from his boisterous attitude and also the way he played. And sadly, also this week, we're going to be looking out here in the next few weeks, a new pope leading the Catholic Church. Pope Francis sadly passed away here this week at the age of 88. And that will do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
Yes, obviously, with the sad news just before the show with Mongo, watched that whole 85 Bears 30 for 30, the whole deal. I mean, loved every second he was on. And obviously, RIP to Pope Francis. New Pope will be selected in near future. And Jimmer range, baby. Yes, sir. Oh, man. Well, I'm glad he got that 3-on-3 with Team USA. That's awesome. And congrats to calclutterbuck. There's been a lot of people have been making jokes about another, you switch a word from B to an F and, the whole deal. Anyway, we won't go that route. But great job with Shield shoutouts this time around, Voldy. You guys know the deal. Draft tomorrow. Wild tomorrow. Wolves on Friday. Guys, it's a stacked Minnesota weekend, I will say again. So make sure you check that out. The Twins are playing too. You know the deal there. We'll talk once they start winning and whatnot. But, guys, if you guys want some merch, we got it. Sweatpants, quarter zips, tumblers, winter caps if you still want one. If you want the hats, the regular hats, things like that, we got it. We got the stickers. We got everything. You let us know what you want. We can get that to you. And thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. And make sure you check out W2 Performance with our guy Will Rattel at www.w2performance.com. And make sure you check him out on YouTube. The Brotherly Ballers Podcast, Tyler Hermann, Jack Vickers. Make sure you check that out as well. TLS Performance, Troy Stoudemire Jr., our guy, killing it as always. Make sure you check out his stuff. And make sure you check out PBL, Popcorn, Bucket List, Nick Dahlhoff, and Ryne, Rhino, Myhrberg, Omni Entertainment. They've got episodes weekly, all the latest movies, the whole kit and caboodle. Make sure you check those guys out as well. And before we go, Voldy, one last thing. Draft giveaway. The draft giveaway, folks. Make sure that you put in who you think the Vikings are going to draft. O-line, D-line, safety, cornerback, running back. What do you think? First round pick and or possibly early second. We'll see. But make sure you get that in. Enter yourself in to win a MinneZona Adidas cap. So make sure you get those in, get it done, and we'll go from there. So without further ado, that's going to do it for episode 236. That was a fun draft special. We had a blast. Hopefully you guys did as well. We will be back next week. Mikey will be back with us talking about who the Vikings picked, what our thoughts are, and then the Wolves, the Wild, the whole deal. So without further ado, as always, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.